just a walking in the rain, getting soaking wet, tortured in my heart by trying to forget, just a walking in the rain, so alone and blue, and all because my heart still remembers you. People come to their windows, they always stare at me, shaking their heads in sorrow, saying, who can that fool be? Just a walking in the rain, thinking how we knowing things could change. Somehow I can't forget. Just walking in the rain, walking in the rain, walking in the rain, just walking. People come to their windows, they always stare at me, and they're shaking their heads in sorrow, saying, who can that fool be? How can he be? Just a walking in the rain, walking in the rain, thinking how we how I can't forget.
We make a living by what we earn, and we make a life by what we give. And these words perfectly convey the life and the values of William Edward Thomas, known to most of you as Bill, Dad, and Grandpa. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cherie Curlis. I'm a celebrant with Brember Family Funerals, and along with Chris Brember, our director, our assistant Julie, and our chapel attendant Natalie, I'd like to extend to you our sincere sympathy as we come together to honour the life of a good man and to farewell him with our love. And on behalf of Bill's family, I'd like to say thank you for your tributes and your kind words, but mostly for being here today and offering your support. And I ask to please continue to support them and indeed each other in whatever way you can in the coming months. Now, I don't need to remind you, we are celebrating Bill's life in the midst of extreme circumstances due to COVID-19 restrictions. And of course, sadly, not all of Bill's family and friends could be here with us. But I extend a warm welcome to those loved ones who are watching this service via live streaming, especially all of Bill's grandchildren. And I hope that we can make you feel a part of this occasion and share with you the love that surrounds Bill in this reflection space. Bill was a loving husband to June, a proud father to Jeff, to Daryl, to Paul and Ross, a welcoming father-in-law to Yvonne, Sharon and Kayleen, an adored grandpa to Sarah, Robert, Kyle, Bronwyn, Caitlin, Mitchell, Charlie, Aaron, Danielle, Ashley and their partners, Scott, Lauren, Dale, and a great-grandpa to Millie, Hudson and Jai. Bill was surrounded by his family as he passed away peacefully last Wednesday, and it's a loss that in many ways has stunned and grieved you all, and nothing can prepare you for this. and we understand death only after it is placed on the hands of someone that we love. For life and death are intertwined, and the sorrow we feel when we lose a loved one is a price we pay to have them in our lives. And we all deal with our grief in different ways, but the important thing is that you allow yourself to grieve and then find a way to move forward with all your memories of Bill still within you. And we're reminded at these times of just how precious life is and how we must embrace the opportunity to treasure every moment that we have with all those that we love. Well, last week I spent some time with Bill's family and I loved listening to their stories, and it was obvious to me that Bill was very much loved. There were a lot of tears, but there was also a lot of laughs as the boys reminisced about their father. So with our thoughts and respect, I think it's fitting that we should reflect on Bill's time with us and the influence he had in our lives. A man, I am sure, has left you all with unforgettable memories. Horace and Emma Thomas were living in Gordon Street, Moorabbin, with their 6 children, Ray, Cynthia, Violet, Sid, Winnie and Pauline, when on the 5th of June 1934, William Edward Thomas was born at home on the bathroom floor. It was probably the only thing that Bill did in a hurry, as he was known for always being late for everything, and there was a running joke that he would be late for his own funeral, but the joke's on everyone else because he wasn't late today. Bill was only a toddler when his father died, and with 7 children to look after, his mother had to find a job. And she found a position opening the railway gates at South Road, Moorabbin, of an evening. She'd come home, she'd have 4 hours sleep, and then would get up and scrub floors all day. Emma would suffer a breakdown and the family would be split up. Bill and his sister Pauline would be placed in the Methodist Children's Home at Cheltenham, on the site where Southland stands today. Arriving at the home, Bill was placed in a row of cots, and in the cot next door to Bill was a screaming toddler, who stopped when he saw Bill. That little boy was Ernest Montague, otherwise known as Monty. A friendship instantly formed between the boys, and Bill refers to Monty in his memoirs as his best mate. And we're fortunate to have Monty here today with us. Bill recalled playing kick the bucket, marbles and cricket, and the boys would go down to the creek where they'd catch frogs and tadpoles. Bill and Monty were akin to brothers, and like most brothers, they'd get up to mischief as they got older. But at the age of 12, Monty was sent to Cato. Bill would follow 12 months later, but then Monty was sent off to Donald. Bill's cousin Ray would take Bill out of the home to work in Moe cutting wood. In Bill's words, it was hell. Working from dawn to dusk, it was hard for a lad who was barely a teenager, and if he didn't get the job done on time, he would be beaten. Bill became ill. He lost weight, and when a local came across Bill and found him, he notified child welfare, and Bill was sent back to the home. He then left the home to live with Auntie Florence, and Florence found Bill a job for £1 10 shillings a week, and when Bill turned 16, he went to live with his brother. Bill loved sport and played 6 games of footy with the Mordy Alec under-18s, and the following year he played all season, kicking 51 goals. They didn't reach the finals that year, but the seniors did, and Bill was to be the 20th man. He was able to get on the field with 3 minutes left. A melee ensued, the siren blew, Mordy Alec won the premiership, and Bill was proudly carried off the field on the ruckman's shoulders. And that same year, Bill was approached to join the Chelsea Athletics Club as a runner. He started in B grade, progressed to A grade with the hopes of getting into the Olympic Games. And in the Victorian Championships, he led all the way. Ron Clark passed him in the straight. Then Bill came back and beat him. The judges saw it differently and gave the gong to Ron. Bill felt robbed and decided to throw in the towel to concentrate on his footy. After playing for Paran for 3 years, he was approached by the Carlton Stars Sunday League with an offer of £10 a game. And at the time, Bill was working for £11 a week as a plasterer. Bill and Monty's paths would cross again, and they moved into a boarding house in Sandringham together. They started dance lessons, and Bill got Monty a job plastering. and they worked together for the next 4 years. And it was around this time that Bill met the love of his life, June O'Hara, at Leggett's Ballroom in Greville Street, Prahran. The girl in front of Bill caught his attention. 8 men had asked her to dance and she'd replied no to all of them. Bill, always up for a challenge, asked the young lady for a dance. She accepted. Those dance lessons paid off, and they danced together for the rest of the night, and June allowed Bill to escort her home, and their first kiss was shared at the front gate. Wedding bells rang on the 21st of December 1957, and in Bill's words, June was a lovely bride. And returning from a honeymoon in Sydney, they settled into married life in South Yarra at June's mother's boarding house. Bill worked hard, and they purchased their first home in Perth Street, Prahran. And in 1959, the family extended with the birth of Jeff. Ring Rovers would offer Bill the captain-coach position in 1960, and the following year he won a premiership with College Lawn. But Bill's dream was to play league football. He tried out for South Melbourne, and he played his first game as full forward. And by half-time, he kicked 6 goals, and they sent him off to play in the main game. He kicked 4 goals, but in the fourth quarter, he broke 2 fingers, and he had to take himself to hospital. After that, he never heard from the club again. 1962 saw Bill contract hepatitis, which he shrugged off as just a cold. But the doctor recommended he take 4 months off work. Bill was so weak he couldn't feed himself, and June had to tend to Bill, to toddler Jeff, and he was pregnant with Daryl at the time. However, nothing was going to stop Bill, and he was back to work well before he should have. The family moved to East Burwood in 1964, and the local footy club approached Bill. They needed a big burly forward to help them win a premiership. June was against the idea, as Bill had retired from footy. But within the hour, he persuaded June to agree, but she stipulated that it was only for the 1 season. They won the premiership, and true to Bill's word, he retired from football. And he was forever grateful to you, June, for allowing him the time to pursue his love of his sport. 2 more sons would complete the family, Paul, born in 1964, followed by Ross in 1969. And when Bill wasn't working, he loved nothing more than spending time with his boys, taking them to the football, playing pool, golf, going camping and rabbiting. Bill bought a boat and would take the boys fishing Friday nights and most Sundays. They would catch snapper, flathead and jewfish. Happy times were spent at Traralgon, Mansfield, Rosebud, Barwon Heads and Barmer. Strathbogie will become a yearly ritual. And we'll hear some of those stories from the boys shortly. There'd be another move to Glen Waverley, and Bill would build their last family home at 1 Mantung Crescent, Roval. With the boys now growing up into young adults, Bill and June could enjoy time together and brought a caravan in Barmer. They'd head up to the Murray, fishing and yabbying. And Bill's friendly personality drew him to others, and he made many friends and was not one to shy away from a conversation or a beer. VB, of course. But the on-site van was eventually sold to purchase a travelling van, and Bill and June travelled up the east coast to Tweed Heads, Hervey Bay, Cairns and Townsville. And they also enjoyed an overseas trip to New Zealand and a cruise through Europe. By now, the boys had started their own families, and Bill was such a proud granddad, taking an interest in all of the grandchildren's lives. And Bill had a passion for gardening, but spent hours tending to it, whatever the weather. If it was a blazing hot day, he wouldn't bother to stop for a drink, and he was like that with anything he was doing. He had tunnel vision and would keep going until the job was done. Now, Bill, as you've heard, was a great sportsman, very competitive, and sports was a big part of his life. The Melbourne Football Club was his religion, the form guide his Bible. He'd love to have a couple of beers in a quarter at the footy, and he'd provoke many a Collingwood supporter when they played against his beloved Demons. And he always said if he won Tats Lotto, he would have bought a horse. But with his fair share of issues over the years, health issues over the years, Bill could be as tough as old nails. When he had his first stroke 8 years ago, he just shrugged it off. It's a cramp. And with his health in further decline, Bill was moved to Craig Care in Berwick in 2016, and June would follow him there 3 years later. But how do we sum up this larger-than-life character with a big personality in just a few sentences? Well, Bill was described to me by his family in a range of loving and grateful ways. A man who was quick-witted, he made other people laugh. He had a loud, seal-like clap. He was a man's man with a firm handshake. He was a committed perfectionist who followed everything through to the end. To Bill, things were either black or white, and he was a straight shooter and called a spade a spade. He could be stubborn, determined, impatient, a hard ass who always won the argument. And he was loving, caring, lovable, and a proud family man who was not just a father but a friend, a man who had the heart the size of an elephant. Bill's going to be missed for his physical presence, the hugs and cuddles that he gave, where he would squeeze the life out of you, those long conversations around the campfire, the joy he brought, his love, his support, and his mateship. His unique personality, his caring, his understanding, and most importantly, his capacity for always being there when needed are the things that everyone's going to remember. But don't be sad that Bill's gone. Be glad that he has lived. And be thankful for the lessons his life has taught and the immeasurable value that he has brought to your lives. Well, you've heard enough from me, and now we're going to hear from those who knew Bill the most. And first, I'd like to read a tribute from Bill's good mate, Monty. I knew Bill for over 84 years. We grew up in Cheltenham at the Home for Children, both babies in nappies. They were very, very good times. We boarded with each other in Sandringham with Mrs. Campbell for many years. And no sooner had we moved in, we just began to wrestle to decide who was going to take which bed. This led to us breaking most of the louver windows in the bedroom. Of course, Bill got to choose which bed, and we did pay to replace that window. And there was one rule when we were wrestling, and that was not to press my nose, as it would bleed for hours. Bill's legs were like tree stumps. He would wrap them around me until I gave in. We often played marbles, or alleys as they were called, at the home, and most times Bill's strength led to my marbles being smashed. After 84 years, I feel Bill was my brother. Rest in peace, my brother. Now I'd like to call Jeff to come and say a few words. Thank you, Jeff.
This is not easy to talk, but with Dad and I and the family go back a long way. Dad, before us, his life wasn't easy early days, and he'd been to hell before he was a teenager. So, yeah, anything else to come was going to be easy, and it was. He didn't need to get to heaven before he met angels. Yeah. His only Paul, his sister only Paul, and his mum first. And then he met, during the love of his life, my mother and the boys. To talk about Dad in a short time is, I've got 60 years of memories, and I think being the oldest boy, I learned about Rule 303 early, and in hindsight, it sort of looking back on it, it was Dad's strict upbringing, and boy oh boy, I copped it. I can remember forever Mum sort of thinking, do I tell Dad? Because she knew it was going to happen. It was going to get ugly, and me being the oldest boy, yeah. But no worries, Dad. It's been a wonderful experience, and yeah, particularly the last 30 years, we have a small property, and boy oh boy, do I get lucky. He's a gardener, he loves it. We put in hundreds of trees, and yeah, Dad spent so many times walking around and looking at the trees with me, and you know, we used to talk to them, you know, like they were people. But yeah, there's so many special times. Early days, I can remember camping with aunties and uncles and cousins, and it's yeah. As sad as it is, you think of the good times, and it just overpowers it. You know, I was so fortunate to talk to Dad before he passed, and he acknowledged a few things. When I told him that I loved him, he squeezed my hand gently, and I'll never forget it, because we didn't talk like that very often. But yeah, we can all rest in peace. I'm so happy with how it's gone. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. I'd like to read a tribute now, and it's from Jeff. Oh, sorry, from Daryl. Dad, words can't explain how I feel. I've lost my best friend. I'll treasure your memory forever and always. I remember a time at Heathcote and you asked me, what are we doing today? What are we working on? And I said, it's too hot. Let's see if there's any cricket on. And after going to the pub and finding out it was at Clonbinane, we headed off. And once we arrived, we went into the pub to find out where the ground was. A couple of guys said, follow us, we're heading out there now to play. So down we went down a dirt road and around bends to an opening that didn't look like an oval to be played on, more like a farmer's paddock. And we were the only spectators there. And as they pulled out the stumps, we found a tree to settle in for the afternoon with a full esky and a box of pizza shapes for lunch. After watching the game and almost out of beer, I said, there's only a few beers left, let's head home. And you replied with, no, let's finish what's there. So we did, and then we headed home. Maybe I shouldn't have been driving, but we did make it. And that was one thing you taught us boys to do, drink and drive safely. When we arrived back at the shack, you got out the car and said, I think I'm pissed, what's for tea? I answered, bangers in bread and more cans. Then we sat around the fire for the rest of the night, laughing until I fell off my chair. And that's just one of the many stories I could tell. I love you, Dad, and will miss you always. You weren't just my dad, you were also my hero and my best mate. You understood how I ticked. Always in my heart, I'll never forget you, Daryl. Now I'd like to invite Paul to come forward with his tribute.
Where do you start? It just wasn't an apprenticeship. I worked with Dad. Pretty much learnt the ropes of just about everything. As soon as I was old enough to be able to start playing pool, he just said to me, we're going to the Mountain View, mate. Anyway, a couple of years later, I reckon, Started getting better at it, lost all my money. Dad says, "You dickhead. You've got to take on some other blokes that can't play, get your money back, then come back over and lose it." Anyway, a few years later, we went down to the Lots Matilda to play, and we were in a grand final the first year. We walked out to the table. The two blokes were playing. Said, "Not you pair of pricks." The old man just looked at me and he goes, "We've got these jokers beaten already." But yeah, he was hard. He was a hard worker. The one thing he's taught me is never give in. No matter what the situation is, never give in. But geez, some of the stories, Mum would probably know that I was 16 and we were at the Dorset Gardens and he was seeing a few blokes that worked for him. And he goes, "Open the glove box up," and there's L plates in there. So he put the L plates on the car. I never even had a learner's permit. He goes, "You're driving." Anyway, we got about 100 metres from home in Glen Waverley. He pull over in the service lane. "All right, no worries." He jumps behind the wheel, drives up the driveway, and Mum goes, "Your friggin' two's been in the oven for 3 hours. Did you drive home like that?" He goes, "Shut up." But it's but just last night, just what he had for people. We were doing a camp over in one of my mates for 10 years up in Bendigo. He's pretty quiet for a while, and he goes, "I remember playing pool down at Prince's in Caulfield. Didn't even know the bloke, but this old guy's just sitting there, and I was gone for all money, and the bloke stuffed up, gave him 2 shots, my mate finished up. And he goes, next thing I just hear this clap. Well done, young fella, well done." And I just thought to myself, that was pretty much like myself, everything I'd done. It wasn't that you have to win, it was just you had a crack. And I'm glad my dad instilled that into me. But we had some fun times at work. Yeah, some of the young blokes that worked for us, they couldn't believe it. The bloke's in his 50s and he's running circles around him. I think that guy's got to go, he's useless. And I don't know, time just flew. I didn't spend much time with him the last 10 years or so, but he'd just ring me up. "You're kicking ass in pool, mate." Yeah, I've been lucky enough to play in teams in Bendigo that, yeah, he'd come down and watch. Darryl would bring him down, and when I'd come down to Melbourne and play. But if anything had to get done, it had to get done. We were working in a house in Kilsyth, and we were doing the butt joins in the ceiling, and he says to me, "Get under the friggin' house and find some timber so I can do these butt joins." And I'm just standing there. I was a bit of a smart ass by then, and I said, "That's going to be a neat trick, Dad, getting under the house." I said, "If you can get under there, do so." "What are you talking about, dickhead?" I said, "It's on a concrete slab, Dad." Anyway, he just shrugged it off. Anyway, it's getting dark. Let's go to the pub, son. We'll have a couple. But he taught me a lot of things. But one that always sticks in my mind is never give in. I've always tried that. And it does work. Just stick at it, it'll come your way. Anyway, Dad, I miss you, mate. And I still won't give in. See you, bud.
Thanks, Paul. All right, we're now going to hear from Ross, the baby of the family.
Our dad, Bill. I always felt a bit strange calling him Bill, so I always stopped just calling him Dad. I used to play Glenmobley Hawks. I was just an average player. I used to just play in the back pocket. Dad would sit down, not before games. He'd say to me, we'll work out strategy how to beat the player you're on. We'll stop him. So we'd work out ways. He'd be right in the pocket watching me. He'd be yelling out, get in front of him, get in front of him. When I'd stop him, Dad would have a clap. There was only one clap. Dad had a high clap. You could tell it was him clapping. He made me a better football player. Thanks for that, Dad. Used to have a caravan up Barmer. Used to take us away up there all the time, camping. Used to say, Ross, when we get past Echuca, turn off to Barmer, you can jump in the car and drive, mate. Oh, I was so proud. So every time we went away, we'd get to the intersection. I'd held Dad right in there to say that they would just pull over and say, here son, jump in, have a drive. Mum would be in the back seat going, seatbelt, seatbelt, look in the mirror. And off I'd go. Hey. Used to let me drive around up and down the Murray. Watch your stay on the road.
Keep going, mate. You're right.
Risk up Mansfield.
Oh. Tell them about the fridge.
Be many times. We'll go to the pub.
Oh, no.
Dad would say, yeah, Ross. Here's lemonade or a Coke, whatever you want. They'd be having a few frothies. Then we'd get in the car. Yeah, Ross, you can drive back to that old shack, the old farmer's shack we used to stay in.
Do you have learned permit too?
Dad would be in the front seat. I'd have Jeff, Paul, or Darryl with me. Probably have Jeff or Darryl or Paul give me a bit of a poke while I'm trying to drive. Yeah, on dirt track, so everything was fine. Yeah, I was only 16 or something like that. 16, 17. Dad used to take us all fishing. He'd get the Friday night. Come home from work. I would have probably something cooked up for us or whatever to take with us. We'd all jump in the car, us 4 kids. Heading down to Black Rock. We all knew where we were going. Yeah, Dad would have a few beers. All the brothers had a few beers. Dad would put a bit of soft drink in for me. We'd get out there and he'd, here son, don't tell your mum, here's a beer. Just a couple of quiet ones. They're memories I'm going to never forget. It's the day I die. I love you, Dad, and I always will. Thank you.
This is, you can't talk about somebody's life in 10, 15, 20 minutes or even years as far as Bill goes, but I'd like to thank everybody that was involved with Bill through the years, and with this horrible COVID we've had, a eventually we will all get together and have a true celebration of Dad's life. And yeah, thank you.
Thanks, boys. I don't think a couple of days would even be long enough to tell all the stories that you've got. I'd like to read some tributes from the grandchildren. And this one's from Sarah. Grandpa, I'll miss the stories of your footy and running career and how you told them with such passion and heart. I'll miss taking you to the footy, hearing your roaring claps and cheers when the mighty Demons were up, and the boos that wanted me to duck and cringe for cover when the other team scored. I'll miss the years of the camping trips, Camp Bocce, and those stories of your trips that I listened to time and time again. And I'll miss the way you loved and adored Nana each and every day, until recently you wanted me to arrange a hire car so you'd take her on that one last trip around Australia. I'll miss your huge hugs and how when you wrapped your arms around me so tight, which made me feel like it would be okay. And I love the way you made me laugh with your infectious tales. Grandpa, I'll never forget holding your hand in those last few quiet hours we spent together. I was comforting you and telling you, it's okay, you fought hard, now it's time to rest, until you peacefully took your last breaths. I didn't want to let you go. I still don't. Crushed my heart, but gave comfort knowing your battle was over at the same time. I'll miss you, Grandpa, but know I'll forever hold all our precious memories close to my heart and remember you, and I'll try to smile as you want, despite the tears. With love always, Sarah. What are some words to describe Grandpa? Determined, stubborn, louder than life, passionate, family orientated, always occupied, loving and caring. Words cannot describe how much we loved you, and thank you for being there for us and always trying to make us laugh. We'll never forget you, especially your loud seal claps every time the D's scored a goal, saying we're sure they could hear you cheering them on from a mile away. We'll always remember how you lit up with a massive smile knowing you were always happy to see us. And we'll never forget how determined you were with anything you did, whether it was gardening, fishing, playing bowls, anything to keep occupied. Kyle will never forget the boys' trips to the haunted house at Strathbogie, going fishing, golfing, rabbit hunting, or just sitting around the campfire laughing the night away. You'll always remain in our hearts, and the memories of you will never fade. And we love you and will always miss you. From Kyle, Bronwyn and Caitlin. Some beautiful memories there. Well, it's often been said a picture tells 1,000 words. So with that in mind, we're going to watch a presentation of photos and memories. And whilst we do that, you might like to remember Bill in your own way. Think of the road that you walked and travelled together throughout his life. And think of all the experiences you shared. But most of all, let's remember Bill as he was.
There was a man, I used to call him Dad, but he left long before I knew just what I had. And now I miss him so. He was the greatest man I'll ever know. The day he died, I was by his side, but I turned away to hide the tears I cried. I never let it show that he's the greatest man I'll ever know. I still feel the pain when I see him there playing that song again. There were times that I sit there by his side when he played his song and listen all night long. I look above to see if I can see that man I love watching over me. I smile and say hello to the greatest man I'll ever know. I do my best to be half the man that he was all his life, so he'd be proud of me. He said, just take it slow, you'll be the greatest man I'll ever know. He was the greatest man I'll ever know.
Over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Skies are blue and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Well, over the rainbow, skies are blue and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me. Where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Well, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh, why can't I? If birds fly over the rainbow, why then, oh, why can't I?
Some great photos there, and I'm jealous of the size of those fish. Wow, amazing. I'd like to read the following poem that the family's chosen, which they feel echoes the words Bill would be saying to us now, and it's entitled Miss Me, But Let Me Go. When I come to the end of the road and the sun has set for me, I want no tears in a gloom-filled room. Why cry for a soul set free? For this is a journey we all must take, and each must go alone. It's all a part of the Master's plan, a step on the road to home. Miss me a little, but not for long, not with your heads bowed low. Remember the love that we once shared. Miss me, but let me go. But remember my songs now and then. Hear the tunes that set me free. And have a glass, and close your eyes, my beloved, and know I'll be what you need. Miss me a little, but not for long, not with your head bowed low. Remember the love that we once shared. Miss me, but let me go. You've all got your own special memories of Bill, which now take on a very new and profound significance. Your relationship with Bill, it's like no other. This makes your connection to him deeply personal and something to be treasured. To say goodbye to someone we loved and still love is heartbreaking, but always know that Bill will only ever be that thought and heartbeat away, and he's going to live in that part of your heart that no one else can touch. It'll be a place where you store all those wonderful memories and feelings. And Bill will always be with those he loved, and he'll forever live on. And we will feel grateful that we had the opportunity to know this good and wonderful man, to see his face, to hear his laughter, but most importantly, to feel his touch. And if you can hold on to those wonderful memories, to think of this man with respect, admiration and love, Bill's spirit will forever live on. So ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to say our final goodbye to Bill. So if you're able to, can I please ask you to stand for the committal? With remembrance and love, we commit the spirit of William Edward Thomas to a more peaceful place. He lived well, he laughed often, and had given much, and he leaves this world a better place than he found it. He was a man who looked for the best in others and simply gave the best that he had. Bill, may you always have the wind at your back and may the sun be forever warm upon your face, and may you be reunited with all of those who have gone before you. Walk in the light of our love for all eternity. Travel safe and travel well. And Bill, we bid you farewell, and may you rest in peace. And as we conclude this service, it would be remiss of us if we didn't play one of Bill's favourite songs, which needs no introduction.
It's a grand old flag, it's a high-flying flag, it's the emblem for me and for you. It's the emblem of the team we love, the team of the red and the blue. Every heart beats true for the red and the blue, as we sing this song to you. To know acquaintance, leave the black, keep your eye on the red and the blue. As we sing a song to you, all acquaintance be forgot, keep your eye on the red.
Let's do close, Dad. Good night, Mike. Yeah, no worries, never start going, alright? Daryl? Scarf going? No,
It's a grand old flag, it's a high-flying flag. It's the emblem for me and for you. It's the emblem of the team we love, the team of the red and the blue. Every heart beats true for the red and the blue, and we sing this song to you.